Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am back to discuss Week 2 wide receiver rankings. Trying a little different. I'm trying to make things nicer and cleaner for you guys. So hopefully the in-video images will be better, cleaner, more readable. Readable? Legible? I don't know. Because legible is when you write, but I'm not writing diddly squat, I'm typing. I don't know the proper grammar for that. But that being said, also I want to start out by saying a little quick preview of the Thursday night football game. The Baltimore Ravens travel to the Cincinnati Bengals. This is going to be an ugly game. Really, really ugly. I don't believe that there's going to be a lot of scoring. So, in all honesty, I would only start Joe Mixon, AJ Green, and probably AJ Collins, Alex Collins. Everyone else, it's hard to do after every wide receiver for the Baltimore Ravens scored a touchdown last week. But I really don't see them finding much success on the road against a decent Bengals secondary, and it's a divisional game off a short week. There's not really a lot to like. Also, if you are starting somebody, make sure they are not in your flex this week, just in case something crazy happens, and you need that flex spot for either a wide receiver or a running back. You don't want that taken up so early in the week by such a probably terrible game. That being said, I'm rocking the Green Bay Packers. No news yet on if Aaron Rodgers is going to definitively play. I believe he will. It's an important game early in the season for them. So I think he's going to play. But without further ado, let's jump into my wide receiver rankings. On the screen, you should see now the 1 through 10, kind of standard except for the last couple, obviously. Oh, and also you will see the defense versus the wide receivers. It's ranked 1 through, but that is 1 being the worst, 2 second worst, third worst, etc., 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 and so on. So obviously New Orleans got torched by Tampa Bay. But flipping over to the wide receiver rankings, Antonio Brown is my number 1, generally the consensus, always number 1 wide receiver. Playing at home against Kansas City, I believe this will be a high-scoring game. Kansas City will put up points. Pittsburgh will put up points. Big Ben is better at home. So I believe Antonio Brown will eat. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple. Antonio Brown at home, you play him. Antonio Brown on the road, you play him. Antonio Brown on bye, I think about playing him. Then we have OBJ, Odell Beckham Jr., on the road at Dallas. Dallas is not that good. You saw that last week against Carolina. But I do believe he'll get 100 yards and probably score. I think it will be a better game for Saquon Barkley, just because I do believe it will be a low-scoring game. But Odell is Odell, and he's awesome. And then we've got DeAndre Hopkins, number 3, against Tennessee. Historically, he is always good against Tennessee. I believe he averages 93 yards. That's average. So I do believe after they lost last week, they're going to have to come back and put up a good game, and I believe they will feed DeAndre Hopkins. And if Will Fuller is back, that will only help DeAndre Hopkins. Then we have Michael Thomas at home against Cleveland. Michael Thomas blew up last week. 16 catches, 180 yards, touchdown. Obviously, I don't foresee that type of week, but I do believe he will have a great week. I believe a lot of things. Notice I say I do believe a lot, but you know, it's about feelings and beliefs. So I do declare, Mr. Michael Thomas, will have a good week against Cleveland because I believe Cleveland. I think Cleveland is going to score. I'm going to be definitive. Cleveland is going to score against that New Orleans worst ranked defense against the wide receiver core. And when you're going against a team that has Josh Gordon, Jarvis Landry, Antonio Callaway, you're going to have to put up points because points are going to be put up against you. Open the door, Michael Thomas. Then Keenan Allen against Buffalo. The Bills allowed not a lot of yards, but 3 touchdowns to the hapless Baltimore Ravens, Joe Flacco. Only 136 yards, but when you're scoring 3 times, Keenan Allen will have a lot of catches, and I believe he'll find the end zone. He will find the end zone against Buffalo. Now, it's a long trip from California to New York, but I don't think you can count out Keenan Allen regardless. And then pretty low on the rankings, I have Julio Jones against the Carolina Panthers at home. Julio Jones, my goodness, was the only wide receiver catching passes for the Atlanta Falcons, unless you want to count Mohamed Sanu's like 14 yards off of 1 catch. Julio Jones was their offense last week. I believe he will be their offense this week. Then we have Mike Evans against Philly, Tyreek Hill on the road against Pittsburgh. Same kind of thing. I already said Kansas City will score, and Kansas City will score with Tyreek Hill. He will run by everybody, catch a long pass, or catch a short pass, or run it for a long way. Either way, I believe he's going to score. And then this is where my rankings differ from the experts on ESPN and NFL. Blah, blah, blah. I think because they've been doing it their whole career, they're experts. My number 9 is Stephon Diggs against Green Bay. And I just think that he's going to find the end zone. He's going to have a lot of catches. More than, I believe, Adam Thielen. Then Josh Gordon against the New Orleans Saints. New Orleans was torched. 361, 4 scores. Hugh Jackson. That's his name, right? Cleveland coach? Yeah. Hugh Jackson wants to get Josh Gordon more targets. He only had 3 last week. You put him in a dome. You give him no weather. Put him in a dome. They'll probably be trailing a lot. They'll need to air it out. Josh Gordon. Top 10. Top 10 for me. All right. Now, we have the aforementioned, the only wide receiver I would start for the Thursday night game. And that's AJ Green at home against Baltimore. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, but I think the scoring comes from AJ Green, Joe Mixon, Alex Collins, AJ Green being the only wide receiver. So there you go. Then we have Devontae Adams at home against the Vikings. I have him a lot lower than consensus rankings outside of the top 10, but just because Xavier Rhodes. And then when you have players like Randall Cobb and Geronimo Allison and Jimmy Graham, I don't think you'll have to force feed Devontae Adams. And Aaron Rodgers does a lot of things, but he does not force feed. So I dropped him down slightly. Then we have T.Y. Hilton at Washington. I have never, ever, ever in his whole career been scared of or a fan of Josh Norman. I think he's always been overrated. So T.Y. Hilton is going to have a solid high-end wide receiver 2 week. And then, like I said, Adam Thielen. Only differentiator to me between Thielen and Diggs is I think Diggs scores. I don't believe Thielen does. That's it. That's it, and that's all. And then I've got Larry Fitzgerald on the road against the Rams. Now, I know what you're thinking. Larry Fitzgerald on the road. Not good last year. Sam Bradford looked terrible. Rams are a great defense. But they were susceptible only to the slot. Who was in the slot? Last week, Jared Cook. What'd he do? Blew the fuck up. 190 yards. Or 180, 190 yards. Almost 200 yards receiving. I Who else are they going to throw to? Nobody else last week. One wide receiver for the Arizona Cardinals had a catch last week, and that was Christian Kirk. 1 catch, 4 yards. When you've got Marcus Peters and you got to keep Talib on the outside, what are you going to do? You're going to throw to the slot. Larry Fitzgerald, I think he will have an okay game. Wide receiver 2, middle of the pack, I think he'll be fine. And then Jarvis Landry, again, against New Orleans. I think he will have a lot of catches, decent amount of yards, but the difference is I don't think he will score. I think Josh Gordon, much like with Thielen and Stephon Diggs, I think Gordon scores, and I don't think Landry does, just like I don't think Thielen will score. Then 17th, we have Emmanuel Sanders at home against Oakland. There might not be a need to throw a lot. It really depends. I looked up, oh my goodness. Spoiler alert, Amari Cooper is not in my top 30. I looked up what he has done against Denver in his whole career. Last year, and you know what he did? He averaged 1 catch, 9 yards. Then averaged 2 games. Each game he had 1 catch for 9 yards. What did he do last week? 1 catch for 9 yards. So if you need 1 catch for 9 yards to win, don't know how you'll know on Sunday if that's what you need to win, then throw in Amari Cooper. If not, take out Amari Cooper. Now let's go back to Emmanuel Sanders. Yeah, it was great last year. I have him ranked higher than Demaryius Thomas because he's just the guy for me. He'll catch anything and he'll run after the catch. Emmanuel Sanders. My only tiny concern is that, like I said, they might not need to score a lot. If you don't need to score, you don't need to pass. Put in Royce Freeman. But I think Emmanuel Sanders, and this is PPR rankings, by the way. Emmanuel Sanders will catch some passes. And then we have Golden Tate at San Francisco. From Detroit to California. It's a long trip. And Stafford did not look good last week. I believe he will bounce back. But, yeah. I believe he'll bounce back, and I believe that he will have a good game. Then we have Juju Smith-Schuster. I believe he will have a great game. I do believe he will have a great game. Because, already said, shootout, Heinz Field. Antonio Brown will get his. Smith-Schuster will get his. Just like last week. And then, rounding out my top 20, I have Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson, I believe, is going to have a good game because when Chicago was playing well, it was when they were getting Allen Robinson involved. And then you couple that with Seattle not being that good against the pass. The pass. Week 1, they allowed 243 yards, 2 touchdowns against Denver. So, I believe Allen Robinson will be a solid low-end RB2 or wide receiver 2. Is there such a thing as a solid low-end? I don't know. But I have him as number 20, Allen Robinson. And then my 21 through 30, things just got kind of nasty. Got Demaryius Thomas. And then 22, Brandon Cooks. I believe he is going to have a good game. He has a tough matchup. I believe they play Arizona. But I think Patrick Peterson. But Brandon Cooks, I believe they scheme for him, so I think he's going to be fine. Then we've got Marvin Jones Jr. He has bounce back week. Didn't do much last week. He's going to score. Then we've got Corey Davis. Corey Davis, I believe, is going to have a good game. If Mariota plays the full game, then Corey Davis will be just fine. And this hot take. Wide receiver 25, Chris Hogan. Chris Hogan against the Jags. Jags defense is phenomenal. Chris Hogan was dookie last week, but I think that he has a bounce back game against the Jaguars. Then I've got Devin Funchess, and then Randall Cobb, slap on my Cobb. Gonna have a good game, I do believe. And then Nelson Aguilar, Cooper Kupp, and then rounding out my top 30, I have Marquise Goodwin or Dante Pettis. Honestly, and this is terrible to say because you never want to hope that a person doesn't play, but I hope Goodwin doesn't play unless he's 100%. So if there are reports that he is 100%, then Goodwin will be a great play. If not, Dante Pettis will be a great play. That being said, let me also jump into, sorry, I had a call come in. What I'm going to do is, and you'll see it on screen, I'm not going to talk about it much because I haven't done it yet, but my flex rankings are going to be a mix of the bottom 6 wide receivers, bottom 6 running backs. So, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. It'll be on the screen. Silence while you look at it. I don't know the rankings yet, so that's why I'm not going to be talking about it, but it will be on the screen. And so you can look at it. I'm going to let the video play out in silence for about 20 seconds or so. But that's going to do it. And then I will have my quarterback and tight end rankings tomorrow. Don't worry about the Thursday night game. You don't need to start Andy Dalton, Joe Flacco, Tyler Eifert, or any Baltimore Ravens tight ends. That being said, see ya.